Now, we are going to turn the time over to Mr. Dane Clark. We are talking about duplicatable stories and why, when we're sharing our stories, we're focusing on results. We're focusing on what has happened for us and where we want people to go rather than any part of our story that derails the direction of what we want. And I know Dane's got multiple stories from multiple perspectives, but I really appreciate him being on the line today. And Mr. Dane, come off mute, share a little bit more about your experience creating duplicatable stories, my buddy. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome, welcome. I hope you all are having a wonderful Wealth Wednesday. Let's get some better light in here for you guys. Good to see some familiar faces as well. And from last week's conversation, I hope you guys were able to take that and go and have some of your own conversations. Um, but Brigham, say that one more time. Actually, you know what? I remember somebody keeps asking me. You know who you are. Somebody keeps asking me for a specific topic, and I'm trying to remember who it was. If you're on the line, um, let's maybe get to that today. But sorry, Brigham, I was trying to pull everything up and close some other stuff. What did you say the
Yeah.
topic was today?
The topic is sharing repeatable, duplicatable stories. The whole reason that we share
Ah,
stories is so that we can help people see what's possible and where you want them to go, not where you want them not to go. So
yes.
I
Awesome.
I think
Duplicatable
it's a
stories.
great topic. Yep.
Um, and the funny thing about that is depending on who you're talking to, you can share the same story in just a different light. Still true, or still tell the truth, but just share that story in a different light. For example, um, let's see, let me pick a deal that well, actually, let's just use one that we're closing on like today. So we're buying a house today, and let me pull it up so I can kind of get my bearings here because I don't keep tabs very closely on. Okay, here we go. So it's a duplex. Buying a duplex today in Ogden, Utah, and so even though the story of this deal is buy it, fix it, turn around and refinance it and keep it, I can tell multiple angles of that story for depending on who I'm talking to. So let's say I'm talking to, and you know what? I just remembered what it was. Sandra, are you on today? Sandra. She is. She was asking me about
Yes,
um,
Dane, I'm here.
it was you, right?
It was.
That said, hey, we got to, and if I remember right, it was how do you talk to the different people, or how do you identify the different people you're talking to and put them in the right box, essentially? Or in other words, how are you able to talk to everyone? So we're gonna work that in. Um, and
I wrote it
so
down for you so you won't forget. It's in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, you know how my brain works. Sometimes I trail off and
I get you.
like, what are we talking about? There was a point to this to loop it back.
Duplicatable stories.
But
We got
yeah.
it.
So today's story, duplex, um, going to fix it up, refinance it. But I can tell this story depending on who I'm talking to in many different lights. So let's do this. I'm gonna share my iPad screen for today because we're going to dive into this and we'll tell the again. I'm going to tell you the same story of real estate deal four times basically, but from different lights depending on who I'm talking to. So, all right, I'll turn on the iPad and I'm guessing I should be able to share my screen. It's going to let me do that. And let's put that in. All right, here we go. Share. Let's see if it lets me do it via wireless real quick here. Maybe. It's thinking. There we go. And all right, we're doing a wired connection then. All right. Sorry, guys. Bear with me here. Plug that in, plug that in. And oh, I got to stop the share here. Share via cable. Now we should be in. All right, there we go. We're in business. So now it does not matter who, again, who I'm talking to. Literally every human that breathes air, has a face, is going to fall into one of these 4 boxes. Challenge me if you will, but from what I've seen, I have not met one single human to date that does not fit into one of these 4 boxes. And it makes it easier to talk to people. For me, you know, as many of you know, my whole life has been a struggle to communicate with humans because I grew up milking cows, and you don't talk to people the same way you talk to cows. And so this has been a major struggle for me. To me, this was the ticket to say, you know what? I can do that. I can just figure out which box every human I'm talking to is in and help them accordingly, right? Act accordingly or speak accordingly. And so, I think the iPad is on. Oh, come on. It's on the low battery mode, so it's going to turn off. Let's turn that off so we never go to sleep. Okay. So every human. Oh, you know what? Let me back up because there's a really interesting point about this psychologically that just works. As you're communicating with, in fact, let me back up. There was a study. Some of you might have heard this before, but there was a study once that somebody was going down to the beach where there's tons and tons and tons of people, and he's got a big old like cookie tray, and he's holding this cookie tray, and on the cookie tray is one jelly bean of like 50 flavors. It's got like 50 flavors, and there's a little sign above each single jelly bean, right? There's like one red one green one blue one, whatever, one that has like red with orange polka dots, whatever. And he's got like 50 flavors of jelly beans. And he walks up to a human and he says, "Jelly bean?" And the gal just sits there and like looks at it and like looks at it and like looks at it and she can't decide. And finally, after like, you can tell that her brain is just like not liking this, goes to somebody else, "Jelly bean?" And he got the same reaction every single time. Same day, he takes away 48 jelly beans. Now he only has 2 and still has the sign above and, you know, flavor here, flavor. So he has 2 jelly beans on a huge platter. And he comes up to somebody and says, "Jelly bean?" Takes them 1 second. Yeah. Picks the flavor they want. And so psychologically, our brains are designed for the matrix, red pill, blue pill, choose your jelly bean between 2 options. And so I've really tried to design my communication, let's call it my communication funnel, if you will, in that people can make decisions between 2 different jelly beans all along the way. So what I mean by that is let's call it the first jelly bean. So every time you talk to a human, there's going to be 2 different jelly beans. Real estate, yes. And real estate, no. I can't draw a thumbs up. So you get it. Okay. So real estate, yes. Real estate, no. So when you open a conversation with a human and you say the words real estate investing, REI, real estate investing, for just in case anybody doesn't know what I mean by that, REI, real estate investing. And so you say real estate investing, and right off the bat, you're going to tell if that person likes this conversation or doesn't. They're either going to have positive vibes, you're going to see them light up, or you're going to see them like, and shrink or get angry, or, right? And we'll get into it. But that is the first jelly bean that you want to place in front of somebody to choose. Do you like real estate or do you not like real estate? And honestly, you don't have to ask them that question. You just start talking about real estate. You're going to find out very quickly if they're like, yeah, tell me more. Or if they're like, oh my gosh, and we'll get into some stories, okay? So the next thing is we're gonna venture over here. So let's say that somebody, now again, you didn't say, "Oh, do you like some of you know where we're going. Do you like passive investing? Do you like active investing? Do you have properties that you need to sell that you're in trouble with, or do you have some negative, absolutely terrible horror stories that cause you to, right? You're not asking them for all these jelly beans. Oh, do you like fix and flips? Do you like fix and flips? Do you like rentals? Do you like short-term rental? Like, no. Too many jelly beans. From here, if you say, like, let's say you're in the elevator and you're all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, how are you doing? Where are you guys from? At a hotel or whatever. And yeah, I love real estate investing. And they're like, oh my gosh, real estate. Yeah. They start talking about it. I like to go to jelly beans. Do you like real estate passive? Back here, let's start making this colorful. Do you like real estate? Oh, I need a P here. Passive? Or do you like real estate active? Okay, and so as I'm talking to somebody in the elevator, if you will, and let's say I'm in the elevator today and I'm like, yeah, we're buying a house today. Again, I'm going to share certain aspects of the house we're buying today differently based on who I'm talking to in that elevator, right? And so if I'm trying to find out what they are like, I might ask questions like, oh yeah, like I feel like there's typically two kinds of real estate minds. The people that like real estate. There's people that want to just be like the bank and be passive, or there's people that are like, I'm starting a business. Like, we're gonna get our hands dirty. We're gonna figure this out. We're thinking entrepreneur, right? So if I put in parentheses down here, this is like somebody who wants to think like a bank. But what does that mean? It means they have money. And so automatically you can find out if somebody's got money by saying, oh, do you want to think like a bank and just put your money to work and collect passive income? Or maybe you're a little more like me and you want to think like an entrepreneur. Let's pretend I know how to spell this. I think it's E-U-R. I don't remember. Newer. Looks right. So, or do they want to think a little bit like an entrepreneur and build a system, build a business, have moving parts, if you will, right? And so as I'm in the elevator and I'm in like discovery mode, or I'm in detective mode, and I'm trying to figure out like, okay, who am I talking to here? And so I'm like, yeah, do you like to be more passive or do you like to be more active? And that might get them asking you questions. Oh, what do you mean by that? Like, oh yeah, be the bank, just put your money to work and sit back and collect payments or interest or whatever. Or like, do you want to go and find a fix and flip and hire a contractor and be Chip and Joanna Gaines and just like make this thing beautiful again, right? Examples. And depending on how they're talking, again, we can go different jelly beans. Oops. From here. So we can say, oh, passive, do you want to have deals presented to you? Or do you want to go find your own? Right. And I'm not saying you have to do what I'm showing you right here, but you can, or let's say, because let's say I'm like, oh, I'm trying to, I think I've identified this person as someone that I want to raise money from. Then I might ask a question like that. Oh, like a passive why? Do you want to go find your own deals that are super passive to be the bank on, or like, would you rather create a relationship where people present deals to you? Oh my gosh, present deals to you? Cool. So that person told me they've told me they have money, and they basically, I've basically already closed this person. They've got money and they want deals presented to them. So pretty much I just need to sit down and say, oh, well, here's what I do. I'll present deals to you. But if they say find, yeah, I want to start finding my own deals and be the bank. Where do you think I'm going to go with that person? Hey, we got this thing on Thursday night. Got a bunch of people getting together that are learning real estate, and we have everything passive to active and in between that are doing real estate deals, learning all together. I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. If they want to start their own, let's call it start their own process or put their own manpower into finding and learning how to be the bank, that person needs Renatus. That person needs to be equipped with knowledge and community. They won't be able to do real estate deals without it. Almost guaranteed. Whether they join Renatus or not, they still have to have some kind of knowledge and community. There's no question. Might as well pick Renatus because Renatus has the perfect bow on top for everyone to jump in and do this kind of thing, right? So I hope you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. So another thing I might say with the bank is, or I guess I could go from here and say, oh, you want deals presented? Oh, like what kind of return would turn your head? Are you closer to single digit returns, very secure, or double digit returns, less secure? All right, so single percent, double percent, right? So anyway, so you can see that even though now we've made this pretty complex, they like real estate investing, they want to be passive, they want deals presented to them, and they want single digit interest because they want to set it and forget it for a very, very long period of time. But we couldn't have gone there without asking some questions, right? And so I'm gonna, let's finish filling this kind of stuff out. So active. Oh, do you want to do more like, whoops. Do you want to do more like put your own money to work, or do you need to use other people's money? Right? Jelly bean. 2 jelly beans, and you start getting really good at this as you go, because I know there's a lot of jelly beans. I mean, how many classes does Renatus have now? Like probably approaching 100. There's a lot of jelly beans, right? And so as you are working with somebody, try to in the NLP world, they call it chunking up. Make it simpler, right? Because of course this could encompass many jelly beans. This could encompass many, but we've boiled it down to 2. Okay, and so super simple, keeping it very, very simple. Or this could be like on the active, this could be like, oh, do you want to be your own contractor, or do you need to hire another contractor? But, you know, let's say they're like, oh yeah, I want to flip houses. Cool. Are you your own contractor? Or do you need to hire one? And so as you work down the list, and so if they say, oh, be my own contractor, then you know that, okay, that person probably doesn't have the money. They need to use other people's. And so they need to be watching classes on raising money because they are a contractor, right? In fact, those are some of my favorite people is the ones that are like, man, I've been flipping houses for other people for all these years. I've been the hired hand basically for all these years, and I just want to start doing it myself. Love that kind of person. All they need is Renatus, basically. The missing piece is how to raise the money, analyze the deal. They can fix it. But at the same time, on the other hand, let's say they're like, yeah, I've got a little bit of money, or I've got equity in my house, I can get a HELOC. They need to learn how to hire a contractor. I've done now 286 deals. And I will tell you that the biggest mistake I see, the biggest by far, is hiring and firing of contractors. And so they need to learn, especially if they're going to use other people's money, they need to learn how to do that. They need to be around people that have stories of mistakes for either from themselves or from the community. Like, oh yeah, I saw somebody else make this mistake. Don't make this yourself. Valuable, invaluable. You couldn't even put a price tag on that because you never know how bad it's going to be when somebody makes those kinds of mistakes. They need it. They need that knowledge. Or, of course, you know, jelly bean, they can take the route of learning themselves because they fail. at least once. In fact, I was just having this. Anybody watch what's that new movie about Colombia? And again, there's an actor named Bruno. Oh my gosh. Not Enchanted. What's it called?
Encanto.
Encanto, right? Anybody that's seen Encanto, one of the brother's powers is he can see the future. And they call it having a Bruno moment, if I remember right. Or maybe my wife took that. Oh my gosh, I know my wife and I all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm having a Bruno moment. That everyone's gonna hate me, but I can see the future. That this is not gonna go well. I just had a Bruno moment last week. Gentleman was like, yeah, I got this brand new contractor. He's amazing. He's getting deals done in this many weeks. And I asked him, like, oh, how do you pay him? I pay him half up front and half when he's done. I was like, dude, again, I hate being the guy that's like, I've done 286 deals. Listen to me. But I tried to tell him, I have seen too much. I have seen people hire contractors, give them half down, and it worked for the first 6 deals. But on the 7th one, guess what? That contractor got so darn popular among the community because referrals, word travels fast, we're tight-knit. Amazing contractor, did the first 6 deals for somebody amazingly, and all of a sudden he's so popular that he's like, yeah, I'll do yours too, half down. Yeah, I'll do yours too, half down. Yeah, I'll do yours too, half down, because he's just flooded with referrals because he's good. He's amazing. But now all of a sudden he has 6 projects at once that he collected half down. He can't do 6 at a time, but people are willing to pay half down because highly referred, amazing track record. And then all of a sudden he's all 6 people are, he basically only does work on the loudest screamer out of the 6 projects he picks, or 12 projects he picks up at one time, but he's already got their money. And the problem becomes if he's not managing that properly. Again, this happens to the best of the best contractors that I've seen. Amazing work. All of a sudden he's got, let's say he's doing 6 at a time. He's got money in his bank account from 6 different clients. How is he going to manage that to say, oh yeah, this is for that project, this is for that project. And all of a sudden he runs out of money to do your project. And you're just like, dude, get it done. Oh, I need more money. Dude, I gave you half down. Anyway, don't do that. I don't know why that came up, but that was for somebody. Anyway, so jelly bean. So you can see in an elevator, it just takes almost seconds when you're communicating with somebody to identify. Now, I'm not saying that you have to like go into like the nitty gritty, like, oh yeah, most people are fitting these 4 boxes. Yeah, I don't do that. But I'll say things like, oh yeah, you like real estate? Cool. I tend to meet people all across the board. Some people like to be more passively involved in real estate. Some people like to be more actively involved. What do you like? And now I've identified in seconds how I'm going to talk to this person or how I'm going to tell my story, right? So to like today, let's apply this this house. So we're buying this house. Let's not do orange because that's confusing. So we're buying this house. We're going to do some fix up and going to refinance and rent out the house. It's a duplex. And so if I have my story and somebody's like, yeah, I like to be passive, I can be like, oh my gosh, we're buying a house today. And I met this gentleman, and I'm going to tell the story of, I met this gentleman that, let's see, who's in on this one? I'll give you real live names right here. Whoops. Right there. I met this gentleman, Glenn. Some of you guys have even heard of Glenn. Doing one more deal again. This makes like 100 some odd deals with Glenn alone. I met this guy, Glenn, all these years ago that was successful business owner. and he really wanted to get into real estate, had a lot of money, but he just didn't have the time. And so he was like, yeah, I really, really just want deals presented to me. And so we're buying this house today, and Glenn's making a double-digit return on his money, and he's the freaking bank. Like, it was simple enough for Glenn to get into the deal today that he received 3 emails, and he's sending a wire transfer into the title company. And so you can see, same deal, but I'm telling the story through a perspective that whoever I'm talking to, as I identify what they want, right? I'm just a detective. As if I've identified as with from being a detective that this person wants to be passive, I'm going to tell the story that way. But let's say I'm talking to the same, somebody else in the elevator, because now we're going up the elevator, and we just go up and down elevators, right, to connect with people, find leads, right? And so now I'm going back up the elevator, and I find somebody else. I'm like, oh yeah, where are you from? Blah 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 blah. Oh, you like real estate investing? Oh my gosh, yeah, you're real estate investing. I find that most people like to be either passive or active. How do you look at real estate? Oh man, I want to start a business. I want to flip like 10 houses this year. And I got some lofty goals. Like, oh my gosh, we're buying a house today that we're going to tear this sucker up. We're going to buy it. We're buying it. We're going to tear this sucker up. We're using other people's money, right? I don't have to say Glenn's story. I just say, yeah, we're using other people's money. Fix that sucker up. We're going to refinance it, get some money back because of the refinance. We're boosting the appraisal, and we're going to take it from there and just cash flow up and down. It's a duplex. We're going to cash flow up and down, and rate of return is going to be sweet, but it's going to take a lot of work, but man, it's worth it. And so all of a sudden this person in the elevator is like salivating, because they're like, yeah, I like the idea of that. Other people's money, little down because we get most of our money back in the refinance. Same deal, effectively the same story, but just told in a different light, depending on who I'm talking to. All right. I hope you guys are picking this up. I'm sorry, I'm not watching comments. Let me pull comments up so I can try and watch those. Perfect. Pat, would you please post in the chat the condition term? Oh, okay, cool. So all right, let's move on to over here, and you guys feel free to ask questions along the way. Let's lasso tool that, and let's move it over here. So real estate. So let's say I'm communicating with somebody, and I drop the jelly bean real estate, and all of a sudden I can tell that they're like, real estate, not my favorite thing in the world, right? I can tell that they're flinching. In fact, let's use today's deal. Same story, can duplicate this, duplicate this story. I don't know the exact of this one because somebody else came to me and said, hey, I got a deal. But from what I understand, the person that's selling this duplex, they're in trouble. They do not want this house anymore because it is run down. It needs a lot of work, and they don't want to do that work, and tenants don't want to live there, right? You've seen Chris Albin's class, and he's like, your rentals need to be safe, sanitary, or sorry, safe, sanitary, and affordable. This house is none of those. This house needs work. Nobody wants to live there. Even tenants, even lower paying tenants, don't want to live here because the last people tore it up. And so I can tell that story. Let's say somebody's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I got this house, and I don't like real estate because I have this house, and that's this person. And now all of a sudden you go into like, oh yeah. So let's say we tell the same story of the house that we're buying today, because that person's like, yeah, I got this house and it's a piece of junk. And in fact, here, I'll tell you a real life story. Yeah, we got this house, and my idiot daughter and her idiot deadbeat boyfriend are living in my house, and they are pigs. They are absolute pigs. And they're hoarders. They've got cats and dogs, and they pee and poop all over the house. And they're ruining my house. Do you want to buy my house? Like, yeah. And so then I can start telling a story like, yeah, we're actually helping this guy today. that had a duplex, and it wasn't his kids, but it was tenants, which I guess we could argue is like kids, and they tore it up, and he's just like, what do I do? Who's gonna buy this? And we were like, yeah, you know what? We'll buy it. We're not afraid. We're not afraid to fix up a gem. And so you can see I'm telling the same story to the person that's like, yeah, my house. And especially when you tell a story that you were the hero to somebody like that, they're like, where did you come from? Who sent you? Like, I've been praying for you. We've gotten stuff like that because we're here to help. And so the next jelly bean, let's do red, is somebody who has property and they have some kind of underlying problem. There's some kind of underlying problem with their relationship to property, to real estate. And I've seen it both ways where in fact I'm working on this right now. Again, I could tell many aspects of this story, but right now, the aspect I would tell the person or a situation like this is I've got somebody that they own a mobile home, free and clear. It's actually in pretty good shape. And they're like, we have just been trying to buy a house for a long time, saving up, trying to buy a house. We paid off our mobile, but we can't get a loan from the bank. But we have a free and clear mobile. And so they have property, but the underlying problem isn't necessarily the property. The underlying problem is that they're trying to move from property to property. And so what I told them, I said, tell you what, let's sell the mobile. And as soon as it goes under contract for you to sell, let's go shopping for a new house. I will give you a loan on the mobile home as a down payment towards your new house. And if you need, I will even seller finance your new house to you. I will buy your new house for you. I will turn around and seller finance it to you with a loan on. So I'm basically buying the whole house, but I'm going to have a loan on a mobile home, and I'll have a loan or a seller finance contract on a new house. And they asked me this question, and their realtor is involved in this pretty heavily. But they wanted to know, can I buy a brand new house? And I was like, heck yes, you can. Go pick a brand new house. And so I think this week we're going to make an offer on a brand new house, never been lived in, from a builder, that I'll give these people a loan on their mobile home as a down payment for seller financing on a brand new house, never been lived in before, for this couple. So they had property, but there was the underlying problem that we're just like, yep, we'll help them. We'll help you with that problem. That's what the Renatus education is designed for, that you step in and say, I'm here to help. You don't say, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. If anybody knows the quote I'm talking about, I'm not from the government, but I'm here to help. It's for anybody who got that. Anyway, so help people with their underlying problems. They got piece of junk, ugly houses. They need to sell them. They're trying to get into houses. They need some help. There's significant skin in the game. One way, some way, somehow, help those people. And like I said, you can share those stories with that person, because every single one of these boxes is technically one side of even one real estate deal. There's passive, there's active, there's somebody that had a problem and they needed it solved. Every single real estate deal, you could pick apart and share one of these three aspects in that deal. Let's move on to the fourth one, though. We're going to make that one purple. So last but not least is, as you're talking to somebody, again, jelly bean, real estate, yes or no, and and they have a similar reaction to the person that has a problem, and they're just like, nope, I do not real estate. I do not real estate here nor there. I do not real estate in a box. I do not real estate with a fox. I do not real estate, right? Anybody that's seen Green Eggs and Ham, and they're just like, no, real estate, bad. But again, typically there's a story there. And I love to hear that story. Why Sounds like there's a story. What the heck happened to you that made you say, real estate, I do not even want to go there? And I've heard all kinds of stuff. Oh man, I had this company that said that they would do green eggs and ham. Yeah. I had this company that said they would help me real estate because I wanted to invest and I wanted to be passive. And so they said, yeah, buy it. You know, they're in Utah. Yeah, buy these houses out in Arkansas from us. We buy houses, we fix them up, we put tenants in them, and we sell the house with the tenant and we manage it. Kind of a conflict of interest, if you ask me. But this guy's like, yeah, I bought 4 houses and I never cash flowed. This company not only got paid because I bought the house from them with the tenant in it, but every time the tenant paid rent, they said, oh, something broke, we got to fix it. And so this property management company basically reduced all of their risk, and now they're getting all the cash flow because they're finding all these little things that they have to fix up on the house and property, you know. So property manager is sending subs out all the time to he's like, I never made a dime. And so I hate real estate. Isn't that interesting? And they're like, no, I don't want to talk real estate. Real estate's garbage. But I can tell the same story. Hey, we're actually buying a house today. And because of the same reason that you're saying, we are not putting trust in XYZ or whatever, right? Again, I can tell the story to that person. And I might not change their mind, but at least I got a story out that combats their negative story, right? And I've got some people that in fact, let me tell you about a guy named Robert. Again, let's talk real stories. I was brand new, credibility like maybe 0.0, maybe like 0.1. I don't know. I was not as educated at least, so I could at least talk the lingo. But I'm talking to Robert, and he, you know, that was Robert's story. He was the one that was like, yeah, I bought all these houses out in like Arkansas and I didn't make a dime. I lost money because I bought them retail, didn't make any money cash flowing. And then I sold them a couple years later for exactly what I paid for, because I paid retail value, and out in Arkansas, there's not a whole lot of swing of appreciation and depreciation. So he's like, I lost money all around. And so I started telling him what I was doing, and he's like, you know what? That's interesting. That makes sense. And, you know, started talking about being the bank and making your paycheck virtually guaranteed. And he's like, yeah. And so Robert's like, I think I'm passive. Instead of trying to go be a little more active buying rent. To me, rentals, active. You got a lot of moving parts even with a property management company. Rentals with property management, in my opinion, active, because you have a lot of moving parts. You got contract, you know, just like Robert's story. I hired property managers to do this thing for me, but because there's so many moving parts, that property manager is the only one that made money. I made zero. And so in my opinion, rentals, even with a property manager, active box, if you will. And so I tell all these things, you know, Robert's the one that was his story. I tell him about being the bank, and he's like, that makes a lot of sense. I present a deal to Robert. Hey, dude, we're doing this deal. Do you want to look at it with me? Yeah, that's really interesting. Double digits, that's better than I did on my rentals. This sounds amazing. And he's like, let me call financial planner and see what my financial planner says about this. You can all probably guess exactly how that went. And he calls me back, yeah, financial planner says I shouldn't do this. Financial planner is like, no, real estate risky, real estate bad, real estate no. And so he's like, count me out. I'm not doing this. Okay, great. And he's like, but because I was looking, my financial planner was like, hey, I got this thing that you might be interested in. We got this new business that's just starting up. They're going to turn old used tires that, you know, really just sit and rot and do nothing for years and years and years. They're going to turn old used tires into something useful. I forget what it was. But you should invest in that. The return is amazingly high potential. So Robert's like, no, Dane, I'm not doing your real estate thing. I'm going to go do this tire thing, and we're going to invest in that business. But guess who calls me 2 years later? Robert. Hey, Dane, you still doing that real estate thing? I sure am. We've done like dozens of deals now. Again, I was like brand new, and Robert calls me 2 years later after me cranking it, just busting my butt to get ahead in using the Renatus techniques and methods. And I think we had done like a dozen deals by that time. 2 years later, we had done maybe a dozen deals or so. And so Robert's like, hey, you still doing that real estate thing? Yes, I am. And I'm like, yeah, we've done like 12 deals now. And he's like, holy cow, I got a story for you. And he talks about that stupid tire company. Sorry, that's a mean word. That tire company. He's like, yeah, dude, I lost my shirt. They could never get it off the ground. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't jump through whatever hoops or government things. And so he's like, I am licking my wounds. I lost most of my money. I got a little teeny bit back, but I lost most of it. Vast majority. So are you still doing that real estate thing? I'm interested. And all of a sudden, Robert jumped boxes and said, I want to be passive. Dane, and we did a handful of real estate deals. And so I hope this is making sense. Light bulb moment. Go to a popular hotel. Just go up and down the elevator. Exactly. In fact, that's actually brilliant. Good thinking. So as you can see, every single human that you talk to, I can tell the same story to, and I only needed one story, and I just happened to pick the one that we're buying a house today. But I could pick my first real estate deal. I could pick someone else's real estate deal, and I can pull out all four or aspects of the story that would appeal to the person that's inside of one of these boxes, right? Oh, you know what? You know who I missed? Because I think somebody brought this up. Might have been last week, where that person is already actively involved in real estate. They've already done deals, and so they're kind of like, yeah, why do I need this, right? And so instead of going from the aspect of like, whoa, let's just find what you're missing, right? Somebody that's got the chest poked out doesn't want you to poke their belly and have them like, they don't want that. They want you to acknowledge that their chest is poked out and they're beating their, oh, you've already done 5 deals. Like, man, that is above average. That is awesome that you are already having success in real estate. So what kind of a jelly bean? In fact, let's come up with this together, because again, there's no right or wrong answer in my opinion. There's just effective, more efficient or less efficient in dealing with somebody like this. But what might you say? What kind of jelly bean you going to offer to somebody that's got their chest poked out and they're like, yeah, I've done 5 deals. Did 5 deals and I got houses. I'm experienced real estate investor, because they think they are. That's fine. Just because I've done way more than somebody doesn't mean that I should poke their belly and try to pop their pride bubble.
Dane,
Go ahead.
this is Steve Leonard, Sandra's husband. How are you today?
Good.
I have a question. Okay.
Good.
Today is our tax deed auction, and one of the houses is a triplex. It's three apartments in there, and it's going up for sale. The owner lives there, and but I looked at the property tax, and it said she has until April 1st to pay her back taxes, and not lose the house. But my question is, she owes out $36,855, and it's a homestead, so they added the homestead back in there, which came out to $189,000. Now, my investors want to see the house, or before we buy it. So there's no mortgage on the property, nothing. She paid $210,000, and it's worth $465,000 now. So my question is, I wanted to take a ride over there and talk to the owner. and offer her $100,000 for it and pay her taxes, her back taxes.
Mhm.
So my question is that a fair deal?
That's not for me to say, because a fair deal is only for the people involved to
Okay.
decide,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But I can say this. My rule of thumb is I only make offers that work for me, period. I never make
Okay.
offers that don't work for me, because that'd be a charity. And I do this to put
Right.
food on my table
Uh-huh.
and to help people. And so knowing what they want, though, is helpful.
Mhm.
And so try to help them get what they want while you get what you want.
Mhm.
But just make sure that you just never cross the line of making an offer that doesn't work for you.
Okay.
And so basically we're zooming in right here. They have a property with an underlying problem. My favorite question is, in a perfect world, how would you like this to go? How would you like to see this pan out? In a perfect world, paint a picture for me. In a perfect world, paint a picture of how you would like to see this go in your
Brilliant.
life. Do you want to stay in the property? Are you okay to move? Are you hoping to just get a cash out? Are you hoping to just save yourself from foreclosure? Like, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
paint me a picture of how you want this to go. And
Perfect.
that, and I do that before I make any offer or anything like that,
Hmm?
because now I know where their baseline is. And I will work everything I can on my end to say, okay, here's what they want. Here's what I need out of this house. And if I can't balance those two things, I'll still make the offer that works for me. Just knowing that, hey, they might not accept, which is totally fine. I've done the best I can possibly do, but here is the absolute best I can without running a charity. And I've said that before to people. It's like, hey, I can't run a charity buying houses like this, because that would be a massive charity. That's a lot of money to be buying.
Mhm.
Houses are usually tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And so here's the absolute best I can do. And I'll say things like, let's say it doesn't meet their goal. I say, I know this doesn't quite get us to where we want or where you wanted, but this is the absolute best that I can see that I can do for this house. And I've actually still had people say, you know what, that makes sense. You did the best you could. I know, and sometimes they'll be like, I was thinking it was kind of a pipe dream anyway, that I could get my perfect picture painted, but let's do it. Because that still helps, so I acknowledging that you can't quite meet theirs, sometimes they still go for it.
Right.
But let's say, but on the flip side, let's say you're like, you know what, I can get you what you want, because what they want, fits within then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I can get you what you want. I worked really hard, make sure that that you were, you don't want them to feel like, oh crap, like, I've asked for more? You don't want them to feel like that, but he's like, you know what, I worked really hard. I worked the numbers. I tried to do this and do that. And I think I'm able to get you exactly what you're hoping for.
That's brilliant.
Especially if I tweak it like this and tweak it like that and give a little for you there. Let's get you what you need.
In
Sound
this
fair enough?
particular, yeah, that sounds really fair, and I guess we need to do that with her before he even approaches our investors in our local community, because until he's got the picture painted for them to understand what she wants,
Mm-hmm.
this is just an exercise in offers. So that's where we're at with this. But I'm so glad that he was with me while you were on today so he could hear your brilliance, because he knows every Wednesday I make a point of listening to you, Dane, because you have gained so much knowledge over the years and you put it in such simple, heartfelt terms. People can't turn you down unless you really make a ridiculous offer.
Right.
And by the way, at the beginning of this recording, you thought I was the one that was asking about the 4 boxes. No, that was not me. What I asked you about was how am I going to find somebody in our local market that is brilliant like you and does what you do? That was what I asked you about 3 weeks ago.
That's
So
right.
I'm
And I remember that, but this is basically what I wanted. When
and
you
this,
asked me that question,
mhm.
this is what I wanted to share
And that's great. And it was perfect. And I appreciate
because
it. Thank you.
you never know.
Dane, thank you very much.
You betcha. But you never know what that human that you're talking to in the elevator or whoever, wherever, in your phone. I mean, go through your phone and just try to identify. Like if you just go through your phone, in fact, I could give you this activity too. Go through your most recent 100 text message threads, your most recent 100 email threads, and try to identify what is this person out of these four boxes. And if you the first person that you come along in your most recent 100 text message threads, the first person you come along where you're like, you know what? I don't is this person in nope, or is this person property with is this person active path? If you don't know, put your detective hat on, call them up, and use the acronym FOR. How's the family? How's the friends? What's going on in your life? Occupation, FOR, family, occupation, recreation, occupation. How's work going? How's life? Whatever. And then just look for the line to bring up the real estate. Right? Recreation, like, oh man, are you, maybe you already know all three of these, and so it's an update. Oh, are you still working here? How's
Mm.
that going? Or are you still recreating with underwater basket weaving? How's that going? Did you change it?
That's funny.
Right? Get an update and just look for the opportunity to bring up real estate. Two jelly beans are they going to go down? We like real estate, we don't. And then from there, are you going to go through like, oh, is it because there's a property currently that we got issues on, or is there a property that some other time you had some stories, or are you like, yeah, I'm looking for actively getting involved, like, oh my gosh, me too. I didn't know that you were looking, because you go through your most recent 100 text messages. If you cannot put them in one of these four boxes, there's your objective for the next 7 days. And Sandra, I promise you that you keep doing that kind of thing, you're going to find those people that are like, I just want deals presented to me. That sounds pretty good. You got any? Well, not right now, but I'm looking at one. I'm looking at making a couple offers over the next couple weeks. Let's even say that you're not looking at a couple offers to making, but if they say you got deals, that's what you're going to say. Well, I'm looking at a couple over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, great.
Because of what you don't have to tell them because of what they said, but in your mind, you're like, holy cow, like I got to start looking at deals. And we're going to make
Yeah,
some
that's
offers.
long overdue. That's so overdue. You are so right. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for getting my brain in gear about this. And you're just you're a great coach, Dane. I gotta tell you. Thank you.
We've just done this thousands of times and failed a lot. This
Well,
is a product.
apparently,
This is a product of how many conversations I had that
mm,
failed. And that people got the puppy dog head tilt where they're like, wait, what? Yeah, I like this.
awesome.
And so all humans, doesn't matter if they're on an elevator or not, are going to fall into one of these four boxes. Guaranteed. Prove me wrong. Change my mind. Go talk to another human and tell me if all of a sudden, Dane, there's another box.
I don't
Challenge
think
me.
so.
Change my
I, I
mind.
I think you've got the four boxes completely handled and perfectly. And thanks for the training. Excellent.
Absolutely. And so I hope that helped a lot of people. I hope this is like light bulbs are turning on that for even somebody like myself that worked in milk cows for a living for the first 2/3 of my life, that this is how I was able to say, you know what? I can do this. I can talk to my again, fill in the blank with whoops, fill in the blank with any human. I can talk to my dad. I know exactly where my dad is. I know where my mom is. And they're actually in different positions. I know where my brothers are. I know where my uncles are. I know where my cousins. I know where my friend from high school is. I know every single person that I've talked to in the last while, which box they're in. I know where the person is that I just met last week for the first time in my life. Never met this person. His name's Cody. I know exactly where he is as I meet people. And our conversation didn't even go that deep into this. I just found out that he was here pretty quickly by the way that he talked, by the stories that he shared, by how he reacted to some of my stories, because he was asking questions, right? This was just, he's my new neighbor. They just moved in a couple of months ago, and we were just talking in passing, and he was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I asked what he did. And the more we got talking, the more I was like, "Okay, you're right here. I'm not going to press. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to prod." But now he knows, just like Robert did, now he knows exactly where I'm at. He knows what I do. And it was funny because he made the comment. He's like, "Oh my gosh, like I could, oh, what did he, what I'm trying to repeat word for word what he said." He's like, "Man, when I'm in a different position, I would love to take you to lunch. But right now, he's just started a brand new business, selling drones, actually, selling you guys seen those, the sprayer drones that I live in an agricultural town. And so he's starting a drone company where they automatically spray fields with whatever, fertilizers or pesticides or herbicides, whatever they need. And the drone like knows where it is, GPS. The basic drone flies itself and sprays the whatever concoction they've got inside the drone onto the plants, onto the trees, the orchards. I mean, it's amazing. And so he's like, "Yeah, I'm putting everything, time and money into this new business. But man, if I start wanting to invest, I know who to call." And he and I just became like best friends, even though Cody is right here. He's in the nope, not for me yet real estate box. But we still became very good friends, made a connection. And now he knows exactly who to think of if he ever starts thinking real estate in the future. And I'm okay with that. Cody will probably be in that nope box for maybe even a year or two. But every time in passing, I'll be like, "Hey, how's that drone business going?" Follow up with, "How's the family doing?" Right? "How's work doing?" Right? We actually didn't get into recreation because the other two topics filled the whole time. And that's totally fine. I just know that in the jelly beans, he chose real estate nope, and here's why. And he didn't even reject me because I never even made an offer because of how that conversation went. I just found out where he was in conversation, and never invited anything. He basically told me like, "Oh my gosh, like I could see a day where doing something like what you're doing passively would be awesome." But today is not that day. As effectively, he didn't say that, but effectively, I didn't even ask. So I hope this is making sense. Like, I didn't even feel rejection, because as you get better at this and your detectiveness, if you will, all you do is find out which box they're in through conversation, and you act accordingly. There's no need for rejection when you're approaching it like this, because you find out what they are and then you just act accordingly. Because had he been like, "Oh my gosh, like I just sold my drone business and we made all this money," and as I'm going through these things, you know, I'm telling stories and asking, he's like, man, I'll have what he's having, or I'll have what she's having. Let's talk about passive. Let's talk about active. Like, okay, cool. Come Thursday night. I got some people that you're going to want to meet. And then we'll be getting together and having a powwow with a bunch of real estate investors. Works like bread and butter. Right? I hope you guys are getting some ahas from this. Questions, comments? Let's see. We're after 9, so we can start getting into real estate. Oh wait, we're like 9:24. Questions, comments? Anybody got a quick one that we can finish up in the next like 6 minutes? Excuse me.
I have a quick question if no one else does.
You betcha.
Okay, cool. I'm just curious, Dane. So how you, I don't know if you're using agents, but how you choose your agents to list your properties. Are you using, or how you have chosen your agents to list properties that you flipped?
Depends on what I want. So for example, I'm listing a house right now that with an agent that I've never used before, because I want to build the relationship with this particular agent, this particular agent that I'm using right now. He's bilingual. He's speaks Spanish and English, and he and I have been having some seller finance conversations. And so I approached him and said, hey, I've got this house. Typically, and it's kind of funny because I typically will go with a certain agent because they give me a flat fee listing. But with this agent, I know that other things are going to stem from it, right? This is as you're becoming a master networker, you'll give and take with certain things. You'll invest in relationships, right? You guys heard the five currencies. Most valuable currency is time, then knowledge, then relationships, then credit, or I call it credibility. And the least valuable currency is money. And so with this particular person, this particular agent, I want to build my relationship investment, if you will, with this person, because if I call all 5 of these currencies, then you invest, you spend these currencies, you invest in these currencies. And so this would be a perfect example of me investing in the relationship currency with this gentleman named Luis. And I basically told him, like, yeah, typically I'll use an agent that just does a flat fee and I pay him $2,000 just to list my property. But I can tell that you and I might have a bunch of things going. And so what if I increased, word for word, almost the conversation I had with Luis, what if I increase that flat fee and pay you $3,000 just for you to list this house? Because I want you to see how I'm negotiating these seller finances. I want you to get some experience on what I'm doing here, because I have a feeling that you and I can work together a lot. And so notice that and I don't think a realtor has ever listed a house for a $3,000 flat fee. It would almost insult him to ask. But if you notice the language I use, like, hey, dude, I think you and I, investing in the relationship, I think you and I need to get to know each other more, and you see my processes and me see yours, because I think we can do a lot together. And this is already paying off, because we've got this house that I'm going to have him list, and we're talking about it, and I'm talking about seller financing, and he's like, oh my gosh, I just had a conversation with somebody that's one of my clients, and they need seller financing. Can we help them too? So if I open my contact list here, I can stop sharing the screen here. If I open my contact list and I just search the word, and everybody ought to be doing this on your phone contacts. If I just search the word realtor in my phone contacts, is it going to give me a number? 142. I know 142 realtors that are in my contact are, in my phone, in my contacts. That's a lot to choose from. And so who am I going to pick? Either the one that I've already built a very, very long relationship and we've done lots and lots and lots and lots of deals. In fact, I've helped one agent become a broker because I send so many deals to that person. And, sure, they were budget listings. I paid them $1,000 or maybe $2,000. But on this particular one, I want to broaden it. And so I'm working on becoming that master networker that invests in relationships that will pay dividends for days, weeks, months, years. And so sure, I'm going to have to spend more time with this particular agent because he's never worked for me before. I'm still getting a discount, but boy, he's already got referrals. Already got those referrals because I'm investing in this relationship. And so, and this is happening like right now. Like I need, in fact, I need to sign all the papers that he looks like he just sent over to me so we can list this house. So I hope, does that answer your question, Tamara?
It answers part of it, but so are you paying him like the traditional 5-6%, or are you just paying him $3,000? What?
$3,000. Yep.
What?
Because he understands that I'm a player and he wants to build that relationship. And so he's like, yeah, yep, I'll do it. I'll do it for $3,000. Right. And this house appraised at like 460. And so technically it's less than 1% that he's charging me to list this house. And so yeah, I hope that makes sense. Now, and I wouldn't do that every single time. Like I might be like, sure, I like the discounts, yes. But let's say I have another agent that I'm really trying to build, again, invest in the relationship. Then maybe I'd say, hey, list it for 1%. Right? Because I can see that, maybe there's a way that we can scratch each other's back. I'd love to give you a try. Can we do 1%? Again, everything's negotiable. Just like we shared with Sandra. I make offers that work for me. Only.
Agents can accept 1%?
What's
and
that?
Flat fee. Like, I didn't even know they're allowed to accept something like that.
I mean, their broker might get mad at them, but depending on how their broker relationship is, like this gentleman, this realtor, his broker relationship is that he pays his broker. In fact, that's actually how we landed on 3,000. Because I told him like, yeah, typically I was paying this guy 2,000, but we've bumped it up to 25. And he's like, okay, yeah. He actually accepted $2,500. He's like, yeah, my broker fee is $500. And so yeah, I'll still make $2,000. And I learned this from Woody Woodward. When it's smaller ticket items like that, give them more than they ask for, because that will invest in the relationship capital for that person. And so he accepted my offer of $2,500 because it matched what I was doing with this other realtor. He's like, yeah, my broker fee is $500, so I'll still make $2,000. I said, you know what? Let's make it $3,000. So you get a little bit more. And he's like, oh yeah, thanks. That's awesome. And that one little act invested in relationship capital with that realtor. And this guy probably thinks I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm getting a mega discount, but we're going to get all the experience going through this, working together. He's got clients that will be able to help, and he'll get commissions because he's got buyers that can't qualify. And so we'll do some seller financing. But that's my play, is help a brother out, give him some money, help a brother out, give him more than he asked for, more than he even accepted, I should say, originally, to, again, just gestures that make people feel like you care about them, and they will reciprocate. Because what we'll do is, so for example, he's like, oh, I got that client that needs seller financing. He will represent me as a buyer's agent, and he'll get a full 3%, and I'll buy that house cash. Like he's gonna love me as a buyer's agent, because like I'll basically like point at a house and say, yeah, make a cash offer, we'll close next week. And so he sees the value that he's like, yeah, to him, doing a $3,000 listing fee, flat fee, is an investment in relationship capital too. It's a two-way street. And so he's like, yeah, because he's going to make, ultimately he's like, yeah, we'll make more together doing a bunch of stuff. And so I hope that makes sense. I got 142 realtors to choose from. And let's say he's like, nah, I just call somebody else and see if I can have that conversation to expand and to invest in more relationship capital. I hope that makes sense. Clear as mud.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I would on another call, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you handle the agents and seller finance too.
Cool. Yeah, just ask. We're past time today, but yeah, next week come off mute and we'll we can talk more. Absolutely.
Cool. We'll do.
All right. Appreciate y'all. We'll go ahead and call it a good Wealth Wednesday morning call. We'll see you in a week. Go have conversations. Fit them in a box. If you don't know where the most recent 100 people are in your text message threads and which box they're in, there's your objective. Because you're going to raise money, you're going to find students, you're going to find real estate deals, and you're going to make friends that now know that you are in real estate that will call you because you've made a friend and had a conversation with them. And you're going to love it. Oh, so much more fun. And I don't have to be shy. This doesn't have to feel like cold calling. Like that was my biggest thing, was because growing up on a dairy farm, cold calling was like the worst. I hated that word. This is not cold calling. I'm just a detective. I just want to figure out what box every single human is in my sphere of influence. And I want them to know that I'm in real estate. That's it. And you'll do business with the ones that get the puppy dog head tail, like, wait, what? Tell me more. Yes, I'm coming Thursday. You're going to love it. All right. Appreciate you guys. Go have conversations. Tell me about it next week.
Thanks so much, Dane. Appreciate you. Have a great day, guys. God bless.